That's turning up the heat on me already. Can't even get me started. You guys got me sweating.
All right, welcome to today's news conference. Wildcats will be playing host to Georgia Saturday at 3:30. Game will be televised by CBS, and we will turn it over to Coach Stoops.
Okay. After watching the tape, you know, there's really no excuses. I give credit to Coach Lee, Vandy, for outplaying us, outcoaching us, and they did a very good job. I said that to you a week ago about how much respect I had for them by the way they were playing and how hard they were playing and getting better, and certainly came in and did some really good things with a quarterback that played a very good game, and they played good as a team. We had our opportunities to win, and we can't put ourselves in a position where it comes down to a play here or play there. And we had those opportunities. Once again, we've won those games in the past at times, and we've lost some. And that's going to happen if you continue to play very close games. And we didn't make the plays down the stretch to win. So, you know, we need to continue to find ways, as always. I will continue to work extremely hard and evaluate all aspects of the program and constantly learn and try to improve. But, you know, we always accept the responsibility. I'm not going to ever put my head in the sand, but I'm not ever going to have a knee-jerk reaction and overreact to things as well. Constantly learn, you know, shift, adjust, and do the best we can to put ourselves in a position to win games. And again, there's no excuses. We need to get better and coach better and play better, and we will continue to do that and continue to work at it. And you know, so. Once again, I know the questions that are going to come at me. I think you know me and know I'm not going to make, you know, any knee-jerk, you know, decisions without thinking things through properly. But I also don't put my head in the sand, and also realize, you know, if we, you know, it's on me. But if we, you know, we're 2 penalties away from sitting here at 8-2, you know, and we can't have those penalties at the end of the game, you know. But you know, we eliminate them, we're sitting here at 8-2, and still feel like we all feel like we know we could do better and coach better. So, you know, that's the message. I want to start with that to not deflect from my responsibility on that. But I also want to send my condolences to the Somerset community. Coach Robbie Lucas, 2 of our players, you know, with Jace and Kaya was very close to Coach Lucas and his family. So, you know, what a great man, and my condolences there, and certainly the people from McGoffin County, and I don't know exactly what's going on there, and the students and the players at Virginia. As you can imagine, since the game was over, I've been in my own world working hard to try to find solutions, but always meet with Tony and Susan before I walk over here with things that are going on, things that I need to know, and just kind of got briefed on some of that stuff. And obviously I knew about Coach Lucas a little bit earlier and reached out to Kaya and Kaya's family, but you know, again, I just you know, those are some serious issues, and I want to send my condolences, but obviously own my responsibility and what went on with this team on Saturday. And so, you know, don't ever want you to think I'm trying to deflect, but certainly want to send my condolences there.
Mark, one of the things you were high on Saturday, the season started, was leadership on this team. And to me, it looked like there was very little excitement, very little leadership going on. I saw one player trying to generate leadership, and he was sitting there playing.
Yeah, I think you know, that's a fair point. I still don't question the leadership on this team. I think there's a big imbalance. I think there's some really you know, young players and players that, you know, maybe haven't gone through the trials that maybe some of the older guys have, and the appreciation that we have for all the hard work that we did to put our program in this position. And that's my job as a coach, and our job as an organization to teach and try to preach and do that. But, you know, as I tell the teams a lot, you learn from scars, you learn from the beats, you learn from mistakes, and some of our older guys have been through that. And I think, you know, that's again, not an excuse. It's just something that I have to overcome is educating and putting all of our players and having them understand what it takes on a daily basis to compete in this league and to do the things we have done to this point.
Challenges coaching a team where everybody this summer told these guys how good they were going to be versus for most of your tenure it was all you're the underdog. People are picking against you. That was so important to establishing this idea.
I think it's fair because it's human nature, and we fight against it as strong as we can, you know, and you know, it's something. I had a conversation with one of our leaders and one of our great players yesterday about that, and we talked about that exact thing, you know, because it's like, you know what we can be, but you know we have some youth and some things to fill, and I'm just not one that I don't know. I don't feel comfortable talking about excuses. You know what I mean? And doing that. You know what I mean? It is what you just fire at me. We have a good team. Yeah. What am I going to say? No. Yeah. Like, you know, I believe in our players. I believe in our team. I still believe in them. And nobody's given up. And we do have a very good team. We have to play better in certain situations. As I mentioned 1,000 times to the team, there's so many plays in a game, you don't know which one's going to determine the outcome of it. And we've let a couple games come down to a couple, you know, mistakes. And we try to, we're not good enough to overcome them, but we didn't overcome them. You know, we still have a lot in us. We still have we've done a lot of good things. We could certainly be better. But that's a fair question. It's a balance that I don't know if anybody has the exact answer to that. You know, coaches, we all go through it, and we all believe in our team. And again, I said it early. I say it. We go to line up to compete, to practice, to go play, to win every game. You know, I'm not giving up on any. We understand there's real challenges. By the way, you know, I didn't even in my opening statement, you know, talk about and praise Georgia, but I don't think I have to. You know, with what Kirby has done and the job he's done in recruiting and coaching, and you're playing the #1 team in the country, and they deserve to be #1. You know, they are awfully impressive in every way, shape, and form, and they deserve to be where they're at, and we have a great challenge ahead of us.
Mark, you mentioned just 2 penalties away from 82. But it seems like an overall theme of the season just been, I guess, general sloppiness, maybe in all 3 phases. It's week 12.
Don't disagree.
How have you gotten to this point?
Yeah, don't disagree. You know, don't disagree. I really look hard in that. I don't get discouraged. I fight and I battle and I look to improve and look for solutions. But that does bother me. You know, bothers me as the head coach of being undisciplined and having those penalties. We're talking about being sloppy, not executing in critical moments. You know, just the things that we've done to help, you know, win a lot of close games, and that's on me. You know, and I don't feel. You asked me how I felt. I don't feel good about that. You know, and it does truly start with me and making sure that everybody executes in those critical moments. And, you know, under extreme pressure, your habits are going to come straight to the surface. And obviously I haven't created enough good habits with this unit, with this team.
DeAndre Square tweeted last night that he's working really hard to get back. Could we see him this weekend?
Yes, as I mentioned last week, and he's day to day, and I don't say that to throw people off. He's day to day. You know, I hope so. I know DeAndre, and I know him. He'll try to play today. You know, he'll try to be out there today. So.
Will said he can't understand after the game. He can't understand why you guys can't get up for a game like Vanderbilt, but you can get up for a game like Georgia easily. You don't have to motivate the team this week, obviously. Do you understand why that is happening?
Well, I think you've heard me discuss it. You heard me talk about it for many years. And, you know, coaches, it's not hard for us. I said it Monday. I'm not saying it for coach speak. And people, maybe even y'all, maybe think I'm just sending you some BS. But, I mean, we watch. You know, we watch the tape. I know how hungry that team is and how they're coached and how they're playing. I mentioned it last Monday. When you have a team that plays as hard as they have, no matter what the scoreboard says, that's good. You know what I mean? That team has a chance. And, you know, they're fighting hard. And when I said that they had an opportunity to beat a very good, I don't care what their record says, a very good Missouri team, you know they're good. Because I know how hard Missouri plays, and it was at Missouri. And you know what I mean? And so they were in position to win that game. They just, you know, Missouri made the plays, credit Missouri. In this game, they made the plays to win. We had our opportunities. You know, we don't, you don't know what one play. There's so many plays in that game. So I hate to single out anybody. But, I mean, again, we essentially have the game iced if we don't get a penalty. But
Mark, you've often said that nobody in this conference is going backwards. Everybody's fighting to go forward as well as you guys. So do you think that Saturday's game exemplifies how tough this conference is?
it doesn't, I'm worried about, our school and our program, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Again, I've said it, I've credited them. I could see the way he's working, the way they're building the program, and I could tell because I've been there. I don't know if anybody else, in the league has been where Vandy was when he took over and where Kentucky was. And I've been there, I've been through it. And I know the sacrifice that goes into getting to where even to where they're at right now. Anybody thinks that's easy, go try it.
Overall, offensive woes have been kind of not just theme this year, but throughout your tenure here. Is there any sort of big picture, philosophy, thoughts, instead of shrinking the game, limiting possessions, that sort of thing?
I think that's a very fair question and very true. I'll say this, there's not one other school that hadn't gone through that too. I wish there was space in our league. And not as good at defensive players, but but there are. You know what I mean? And so I don't mean that to demean the question, but yeah, I think that's a fair question. Yes, I have. I've thought about it. Yes, and there are definitely some philosophical things that I have to think through and do think through a lot. Yes.
Mark, on that topic, you talk about can't make knee-jerk reactions, which I think is understandable, but you're 3 weeks from the transfer portal window opening, you're a little more than a month from signing day.
Pardon me, I'm sorry, John, what?
You talk about not making knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah.
You're only 3 weeks from the portal opening,
Yeah.
a month from signing day.
Yeah.
What do you tell recruits, your own players, about the future of the offense?
Well, they know, they could see things. They watch it. I mean, it's not, and I'm not sitting here saying I have my head in the sand. Like, I accept it, I shoulder it, and we look at things, and we'll get better, and we can make adjustments. That doesn't always have to be with personnel, to kind of your question. We got smart, good coaches in here, and there are things we could do. And there are things we do well. We need to execute a little better. And we have a really good, experienced, talented quarterback, and we have some really young guys in certain positions. For whatever, again, I'm not comfortable talking about excuses. There are no excuses. But, I mean, you go through things, you get caught. There are reasons why we get caught a little thin in offensive line. We've gone through some real life stuff that has been hard. You know what I mean? That through years. And then, change doesn't help either, with a guy coming and leaving. You know what I mean? So we got put in this position. It's my job to get it fixed. But there are some things that we can fix and will get fixed. So that's where the portal and things of that nature can help you to where when we took over 10 years ago, those things weren't there.
Mark, in terms of the sloppy play, at least offensively, is there any chance that just kind of the slow pace and the verbiage, guys just have so much time to think they're not?
Well, I think that's to the point we were talking about, just philosophically and style and everything else, and there's things, but there are things, yes, that we started to do better. You know what I mean? And the stuff where we're not, the things that are confusing, are complex, are hard, that's going to stop. You know what I mean? So we may get beat, but we're not going to beat ourselves. And that's a philosophy I had for a long time, starting day one. And you can't beat anybody until you stop beating yourself. And we are beating ourselves at time, and without not giving credit to people where they deserve it. But there are times when we are beating ourselves. And as I mentioned, just 2 penalties alone, you know what I mean, can change. You could be 8-2 and still talk about our problems. I know our problems, but that's where you look at it and be like, hey, that's on me. To the other question of the sloppiness and play and discipline and maturity and all those things, you put it together. It takes a bunch of grown people, grown men, to win in this league consistently, and a lot of them pulling in the right direction, and that's my job to continue to work on that.
Mark, are there times you think this team may be playing too hard instead of playing with the intellect that they have?
I don't know about that. I don't think you could ever play too hard. I mean, I think, I talked about the penalty, and I hate to single him out because I don't know if there's anybody that loves and works harder than that gentleman. You know what I mean? And I love him, and we all do. You know, with Ox and the way he plays and how hard he plays and how much he cares. And he's a great player, great leader, great person. I love him. You know, and I wouldn't trade him. You know, but it wasn't a selfish penalty. You know what I mean? But it was a penalty. You know, it was quick, but it was and it happens. It happened to us earlier in the game, and it wasn't called. Now, I'm not picking on that, but it was. It's got to be a long, delayed hand where you're sitting there saying, you know better. That one was quick, but his helmet came off. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he left his hand up there in the face. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I love him. It wasn't selfishness. It wasn't, you know what I mean, undisciplined. It was quick, but it popped off. So that's a penalty. Again, that happened to us, and I didn't see it, and that happens.
Defensively, how do you prepare for a Georgia team that has so many weapons on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, I mean, we prepare the same way every week. You know, I think, we all understand that it's a real challenge. It's a team that's very deep and very physical. Obviously getting your team and getting their minds right to go out and have a very good week of preparation is where it starts.
I think the enthusiasm level amongst players in that they feel bad about the program where it's at. The reason why I say that, I personally say this, is that they are some of your best recruiters. Yeah, no, and I love that. Being that like Sunday, anytime we have official visits in, and you go through a tough time like that, is tough. And my exit meetings on Sunday with recruits were phenomenal, and I didn't bring it up, but they brought it up to me is how good our players were with them, and that's a great sign. That actually picked me up a little bit Sunday, which I have no problem because losses are so hard. I mean, it's a way of life, and believe me, we live this. I live this every day, but it's really not hard for me because there's so much to be done. There's so much work to be done, and I say that all the time. It's like you get up Sunday and you go, and you kind of bury yourself in that cave over there and go to work. I need to be updated on life things, and these guys do a great job. Like, I don't want my head in the sand, but I'm over there doing work and consumed with it, and that's healthy for me because it's what keeps me going. But again, life that goes on outside of here that I need to know about. Tony and Susan do a good job of briefing me, you know what I mean? But other than that, it's hard, and I appreciate our players that way, and the mentality and some of the young guys that were around, the recruits, and that's good to hear, So, and the old guys been through it, they understand, they're committed, and we just all, we need to do a better job, and I need to do a better job of getting to the earlier question of just getting that consistency of us, playing with that intensity and practicing all the time.
Mark, you were part of a rebuilding effort at Florida State and recruited players who play for a national title. What do you say about what Kirby's done at Georgia, how he's done that, and how do you describe that?
Yeah, well, it's hard to describe that. Number one, you have to credit him. I know the work that goes involved in the resources, and we all know it's a very good place, and they're in the heart of some very, very good players, arguably one of the some of the greatest players in the country. But that's not to demean the work that he put in and his staff puts in, and how hard they've grinded on recruiting and developed them. It's still they've worked hard to get into the position that they're in. And yes, it's a very good school with very good resources and very good players, but they also do a very good job.
Mark, Rich and Will had talked about some of the receivers not being on the same page with Will.
Pardon me?
Rich and Will talked about after the game, some of the receivers not being on the same page with Will, whether it be routes or things of that nature. Just how do you feel like that connection needs to develop?
That's definitely true. Just hear me and keep this in context. Those are nuances, not on different pages. So sometimes when people hear the headlines, they're not on the same page. Everybody will overreact to that. They're not coaching them. They're not doing that. Experience. I mean, you guys have all listened to Peyton Manning and see the stories and just how hard they work, and Tom Brady, and how even after all those years they constantly grind for all the little things and all the little nuances, and we haven't had the time for that, so yeah, there are some things that's not all on Will, but I'm not throwing those guys under the bus either. Those things just take time, so that's not like there's some big, when I say they're not on the same page, somebody will grab that and say, oh, they're, you know what I mean, they're 10 weeks in and they're not on the same page. I mean, we don't stop growing, learning, and getting better for 20 years if they're blessed enough to be in it that long. Does that make sense?
Mike Wright put a lot of stress on your linebackers, just the RPO kind of stuff.
Pardon me? Yeah.
Their quarterback.
Yeah.
How will the tight ends at Georgia put stress on your linebackers?
Yeah, different. I mean, different. The quarterback put us in bad position. We had good coverage. He pulled it down and ran a couple times, and try to, mix it up. And they had we were a bit off balance. We still played, solid defensively, not a great effort. You know what I mean? We gave up an explosive run to the quarterback and an explosive run to the running back. And the running back, they cracked, replaced. They made one guy miss, and that's it. You know what I mean? And took it down to the 1 or 2, and then the QB made a good run with some misdirection different type of stress. But with Georgia, yeah, you're not going to have the quarterback run game, but you're going to have a lot of weapons and a good scheme, where they continue to be able to push on you. They're one of those teams that are big and strong and will come at you with a bunch of backs that are big and strong and talented, and an offensive line that'll push on you and push on you and push on you, and you watch them and you may see teams lingering around, and all of a sudden, their depth and their strength take over. So you have to be able to combat that.
Mark, do you sense any
injuries and the constant draft talk, the results? How has Will kind of held up with all the adversity?
Will's fine. I mean, Will, he and I just had a good heart-to-heart and talk yesterday, and I don't. That's not holding him back. He really is a guy that cares deeply about this place, his legacy, and the way he performs for his team, and and that I feel for him too. I need to do a better job for him, and we need to play better for him, and he needs to play better. We're all in this together, So he's not concerned about that. He's concerned about about doing the best he can and leading the best he can, and that's what you want.
Mark, do you think for Rich, that circumstances you got here right before the start of spring, do you think the transition from the NFL back to college was a little different than what he expected it to be?
It was probably quick, but that's, again, there's no excuses. He doesn't want him, I don't want him, that's not, but it was quick. I mean, the guy got here when I was supposed to be in spring ball, and so you really don't have that even off season to piece things together. So it has been quick that way. But he's also adjusting, and he's very bright, and a very smart and good coach. And he understands that there's issues going on and things, and constantly looking at it. And we met for hours yesterday, and everybody on the offensive side and myself, and talked through things and looking at things. And but again, we're not, none of us need excuses, but is that a reality? Yeah, I think it's a reality. It's true.
When you look at the tape of the offense, what do you see?
Well, I see some really good things, and then I see and then I see inconsistency. Then I also see things that we have to adjust quicker than we did. You know what I mean, with some of that. And again, quit getting every headline and I'm throwing darts. You know what I mean? We're all in this together. It's on me. But yeah, there are things we certainly could do better, and there are things where if it's too much, I don't want to say too complex, but you have to invest too much time. You know what I mean? We don't have that. You know what I mean? So we got to build on the things we have banked, the things we have done that we could carry that are good, and the areas where we're not targeting things right and they're too complex, we got to toss out. And so our players still play hard. Chris runs hard. Will is a very good player. Our youthful receivers are very talented. And there's still some really good things, but there's things where we all understand. You know what I mean? We understand where we're, that there's some areas that are unacceptable. When we're driving the football and you get the ball in the red zone and you have 3 opportunities to get 6 points, that it's not good. And that those are things that Yeah, we're driving it, we're moving it, but we got to get it in. And, some of that is a limitation on, Will. Again, no excuses, but it's like Will being banged up and not having the quarterback run game and not being 100%, doesn't help, when you're in the red zone in particular.
Mark, do you appreciate this game against Georgia being a home game, and does it give you some sort of advantage in terms of prepping? Because now you don't have to actually plan to go on the road and that kind of thing.
It helps in that way. I mean, anytime instead of going to their stadium when there's 100,000, going nuts, you know what I mean, the crowd noise, it'll help my head on practice, this week, not having to hear that noise all week in practice, I guess. But to our players, it's still a real challenge, and our approach really isn't any different other than that, handling the communication with the noise. So.
Obviously, Mark, you've already praised Kirby and noted they're in the middle of a fertile recruiting ground, but given the fact they lost 5 first-round picks on defense, is it at all slightly surprising that they have had 3 drop-offs?
No, that doesn't surprise me. I mean that as a compliment. No, it doesn't surprise me. You just reload, when we get to that, yeah.
Mark, some of your fall scrimmages, the defense dominated. Was that in the red flag about your offense, where it was?
Where are you getting your info, Lonnie? You sneaking in there? Huh? You old dog, you getting in there? Yeah, I can't think back to the scrimmages. I think, like most scrimmages, we're a little give and take both ways. Defense should have been further ahead just with the continuity we've had and things of that nature. But, there's certainly moments. We're not good enough, and you saw that Saturday, we're just not good enough to dominate and win one-sided. We have to play good as a team, bless you. To win, you have to be good as a team, and we have to play good in all of our areas.
Georgia's replaced a lot of their defensive starters, obviously, but can you take anything away from that game last year? You guys were one of the few teams to be able to score on them multiple times.
You always look at last year's game as a piece of what you look at. All of us grow and evolve and have to adjust, and so it's just a piece. I mean, we don't take any solace in thinking that was good enough. It's not good enough to win, and we understand what a real challenge that is.
About all the many factors that got the offensive line to this point over years. Because of all that, is it realistic to expect it to get fixed in one off season?
Well, like I said, it's different now, John. The one good thing is there is free agency. I didn't create that. Well, let's be honest. There's a salary cap that some people have none, and then there's free agency. Makes life different. Now you better adapt and you better adjust and you better be able to overcome it. You know what I mean? So again, I play by the rules that are put in front of me, but I didn't create that free agency.
Is that a position where there are a bunch of
and the sustainability of 85 free agency years is kind of interesting. How would you like to operate an NFL team with every one of your guys are a free agent every year? How do you think they'd do? I mean, seriously.
Mark, do you sense maybe some frustration building up on the defense when they go into every game kind of knowing that the offense hadn't scored more than 21 points in an SEC game, that they kind of have to hold. If we allow more than 17 points today, we might lose, or we have a good chance to lose.
It's fair, but it's not an excuse. You know what I mean? The defense guys have to buckle up and make plays. And again, we played a lot of good plays in that game, but a couple not good enough. And it comes down to that. And it also, with the style of offense, and again, to your point, and not saying I went into it for that reason, but when we are taking so long and are methodical, they're not playing as many snaps, so they better play better. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? They don't have to defend, 13 or 14 possessions. Is it when I was a coordinator for so many years and everything, I've told you this before, but I really looked at possessions, like drive charts. How many three, you know what I mean? How did we do? Did I get 3 and outs? Did we get stops? Did we get 4th down stops? Did we get interceptions? And Saturday we had a good 4th down stop. We got fumble and interception. You know what I mean? We did some things that were good, but in the drive chart's not that long. I mean the possessions aren't very long. I think it was 9. Maybe, yeah.
So that it just put more pressure on you when you do create scoring opportunities and you're not finishing drives. It just makes it even.
That's, yeah, without saying. I mean, I mean, without question. I mean, that's no doubt about it. So when we drive, and I think we had a 15-play drive or 16-play drive and got 0. That just seriously helped Vanderbilt right there. You know what I mean? So.
To go back to the offensive line and portal, how many guys capable of playing winning football in the SEC at that position you think there will be? And isn't it going to be just incredibly competitive to get those guys?
Well, without a doubt, and and that's not end all be all. And I'm just stating facts that it's different now. It's just different right now than it was 10 years ago. You know what I mean? These are new rules and it's different. I'm not saying that's end all be all. I've talked to quite a few coaches and would talk a lot and everything. And there's been coaches, you know, that are colleagues and friends and people you consult with and other different leagues and different people that are like, you know, I made a mistake. You know what I mean? Like, and watch that. And so there's give and take with everything. You gotta do what's right for your program. And so, you know, I think we all know how hard we've worked to kind of be who we are and build our culture, do the best we can and all that. Well, if you're bringing in 15 new guys every year, either, you know, and you're already taking 20 young guys, you know what I mean? And so then if you take a lot of that, then, you know, that gets challenging.
Mark, you want competition at all spots to be your best, obviously. Are there any of those guys behind the O-line starters that have shown?
Yeah, we definitely got guys that can work. You know, they just need time. They might need an off season. They may need strength. They may need, you know, to gain weight. They may need to lose weight. There's things that, you know, you just constantly work, you know. And there's, you know, and just from covering our team, I mean, there's guys that pop up that like Jamin. You know, nobody talked about Jamin till what? That year he blew up, you know, and so you don't know. And that's a good lesson for our players. Like, you know, he didn't play a whole heck of a lot, but when he was ready, as he was working, and then he had that opportunity and blew up in 1 year. And so we have guys that you don't know when that time's going to come. They just got to continue to put in the work, continue to get better, and then eventually when they get on the field, how good are they going to play? You know, I mean, that's kind of like who we had to be for all these years, you know, and that's still what you have to be, in my opinion, to have the consistency that you want.
You have to worry about the portal in reverse too on that?
Yeah.
You guys be patient.
Of course. Oh yeah. It's a reality. You know, and you know, we've been here and, you know, we've been blessed. I mean, again, I think it's a credit to the players, the staff and everything. Like, you know, we've been blessed with guys that have left. Which, you know, I'd probably say 100% of it was almost mutual. You know what I mean? Like, and now, you know, that'll change, but that's everybody. That's a reality. It's the new world. That's not a knock. That's okay. You know what I mean? Like, there are players on our team right now that I absolutely love, and I think they down deep love it here, but they may decide to go somewhere else. What's better for them? You know, that's just new world. You know, you don't take offense to it anymore. You know.
Mark, you've had 5 kicks blocked this year, which is tied for most in the country. Is this something that you all saw could be a situation prior to the season, or it's kind of come out of nowhere for you?
No, I don't want to say it came out of nowhere. We let it happen, but you know, there's a combination of things again. Is it a block kick or do you kick it into somebody? I mean, I don't, you know what I mean? Like that goes both ways, you know. So yes, it is a block kick, but it's not just like on the lines every time. You know, like it was a low ball again. You know what I mean? And kick 3 really good. 3 much better. The operation was smooth. The operation was on time. Kicks were perfect. You know what I mean? Great, smooth, routine. And 1 wasn't.
Okay, folks, thank you very much.
See you tomorrow.